आजादी के 75 वर्ष पूर्ण होने पर देश ने आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव के तहत अनेक योजनाएं, प्रतियोगिताएं, उत्सव और अभियानों की शुरुआत होते हुए देखी। इसके दूसरे चरण में देश समग्र विकास करते हुए एक सशक्त, सामर्थ्यवान, आत्मनिर्भर और वैश्विक शक्ति बनने की राह में आगे बढ़ रहा है। अमृत काल में प्रगति को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए चुनी गई हैं 9 थीम्स, जिनसे देश के विकास को मिल रही है नई उड़ान। आत्मनिर्भर भारत के लिए स्टार्टअप्स, मेक इन इंडिया और वोकल फॉर लोकल जैसे अनेक अभियान चलाए जा रहे हैं, जो देश के विज्ञान, तकनीक, अंतरिक्ष, उद्योग, स्किल्ड मैन पावर, एमएसएमई, रक्षा, कोयला, स्टील, पावर जैसे क्षेत्रों की प्रगति करते हुए आत्मनिर्भर भारत के निर्माण को सुनिश्चित कर रहे हैं। आत्मनिर्भरता के लिए आवश्यक है आदिवासी समाज का सशक्तिकरण। इसी के तहत जनजातीय समुदाय में उद्यमिता और तकनीक का प्रसार व उनकी भाषा, कला, शिल्प और संस्कृति का हो रहा है प्रसार। सशक्त होते देश में अपनी परंपराओं के प्रति आज गर्व का भाव उत्पन्न हो रहा है। कॉलोनियल माइंडसेट को दूर करते हुए हमारी सांस्कृतिक धरोहर को मिल रही है नई पहचान। आजादी के अनाम सेनानियों को मिल रहा है सम्मान। भारत के शिल्प, कला, नृत्य और संगीत को बढ़ावा दिए जाने के साथ ही इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम, स्मारक, वास्तुकला, म्यूजियम, स्वदेशी तकनीक से लोगों को जागरूक किया जा रहा है। अमृत काल में ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों को शिक्षा और कौशल विकास द्वारा आत्मनिर्भर बनाया जा रहा है। साथ ही जनजातीय समुदाय एवं महिलाओं, बच्चों और दिव्यांगजनों को शिक्षा और रोजगार के नए अवसर मिल रहे हैं। समग्र विकास के लिए आयुर्वेद का उपयोग, मानसिक और शारीरिक स्वास्थ्य तथा स्वस्थ जीवन शैली अपनाने के लिए चलाए जा रहे कार्यक्रमों से उत्पन्न हो रहा है सकारात्मक प्रभाव। महिला एवं बाल कल्याण के लिए चलाई जा रही योजनाओं के तहत उनकी शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य, पोषण के साथ ही उनके अधिकारों के प्रति जागरूकता फैलाई जा रही है। जल संरक्षण और नदियों के सांस्कृतिक महत्व को बढ़ावा मिल रहा है। साथ ही नदियों की स्वच्छता और महत्व को बनाए रखने के लिए नदी उत्सवों का आयोजन किया जा रहा है। पर्यावरण सुरक्षा, जैविक खेती, कूड़ा एवं कचरा प्रबंधन, स्वच्छता अभियान जैसे अनेक कार्यक्रमों से जीवन शैली को प्रकृति के अनुकूल बनाने के लिए जागरूकता फैलाई जा रही है। हमारा देश विविधता में एकता का प्रतीक है और इसी सोच को साकार करते हुए पूरे देश को रोड, रेल और वायु मार्ग से जोड़ा जा रहा है, जिससे विभिन्न क्षेत्रों के बीच कनेक्टिविटी बढ़ी है और इससे पूरा भारत एक सूत्र में बंध रहा है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के पंच प्रण से प्रेरित ये 9 थीम्स देश को अमृत काल में सशक्त, सामर्थ्यवान और वैश्विक शक्ति बनने में अहम भूमिका निभाती रहेंगी। वर्ष पूर्ण होने पर देश ने आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव के तहत अनेक योजनाएं, प्रतियोगिताएं, उत्सव और अभियानों की शुरुआत होते हुए देखी। इसके दूसरे चरण में देश समग्र विकास करते हुए एक सशक्त, सामर्थ्यवान, आत्मनिर्भर और वैश्विक शक्ति बनने की राह में आगे बढ़ रहा है। अमृत काल में प्रगति को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए चुनी गई हैं 9 थीम्स, जिनसे देश के विकास को मिल रही है नई उड़ान। आत्मनिर्भर भारत के लिए स्टार्टअप्स, मेक इन इंडिया और वोकल फॉर लोकल जैसे अनेक अभियान चलाए जा रहे हैं, जो देश के विज्ञान, तकनीक, अंतरिक्ष, उद्योग, स्किल्ड मैन पावर, एमएसएमई, रक्षा, कोयला, स्टील, पावर जैसे क्षेत्रों की प्रगति करते हुए आत्मनिर्भर भारत के निर्माण को सुनिश्चित कर रहे हैं। आत्मनिर्भरता के लिए आवश्यक है आदिवासी समाज का सशक्तिकरण। इसी के तहत जनजातीय समुदाय में उद्यमिता और तकनीक का प्रसार व उनकी भाषा, कला, शिल्प और संस्कृति का हो रहा है प्रसार। सशक्त होते देश में अपनी परंपराओं के प्रति आज गर्व का भाव उत्पन्न हो रहा है। कॉलोनियल माइंडसेट को दूर करते हुए हमारी सांस्कृतिक धरोहर को मिल रही है नई पहचान। आजादी के अनाम सेनानियों को मिल रहा है सम्मान। भारत के शिल्प, कला, नृत्य और संगीत को बढ़ावा दिए जाने के साथ ही इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम, स्मारक, वास्तुकला, म्यूजियम, स्वदेशी तकनीक से लोगों को जागरूक किया जा रहा है। अमृत काल में ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों को शिक्षा और कौशल विकास द्वारा आत्मनिर्भर बनाया जा रहा है। साथ ही जनजातीय समुदाय एवं महिलाओं, बच्चों और दिव्यांग जनों को शिक्षा और रोजगार के नए अवसर मिल रहे हैं। समग्र विकास के लिए आयुर्वेद का उपयोग मानसिक और शारीरिक स्वास्थ्य तथा स्वस्थ।
Namaskar, Suprabhat and a very good morning. I, Dr. Avni Khatkar, scientist CSIR-NPL, take the honor of extending a cordial welcome to one and all to the Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav, the National Intellectual Property Festival. The Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Office of Controller General of Patents, Design and Trademarks, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Authority, National Research Development Corporation and Sanrachna Foundation have joined hands to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav Intellect Property Rights Campaign as Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav, the National Intellectual Property Festival, to move towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat during the Amrit Kal. And in this lovely, pleasant morning, we are witnessing the inaugural function of the Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav. On such an auspicious occasion, let us all invoke the goddess of knowledge, Ma Saraswati, for her blessings. So I request the dignitaries on the dais for Deep Prajwalan. Sir, please. Ma'am, please.
Ayun Velrika Heong Hayauch Hayavarat Lana Nyamangananama Jabhaya Gadhadash Jabagadadash Kapha Chata Chatatava Kapay Shashasara Hala Iti Maheshwarani Sutrani.
Astoma Sadgamaya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya. The lamp is lighted with a fervor to dispel the darkness of ignorance and spread the light of knowledge. ये दीप प्रज्वलित हुआ इस प्रार्थना के साथ कि हे ईश्वर, अज्ञान रूपी अंधकार का विनाश हो और चारों तरफ ज्ञान रूपी उजियारा हो. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Words have great value, but sometimes gestures can have such an enormous emotional impact which words might not be able to achieve. Let us greet our distinguished guests with a token of our gratitude and respect. So may I now request Dr. N. Kalaiselvi, DG CSIR, to please welcome Dr. Jitendra Singh, Honorable Minister of State Independent Charge, Ministry of Science and Technology, and Vice President CSIR, by presenting the sacred basil plant. Sir, please. Gifting a tulsi plant is a great way to show that we care about your health and well-being, sir. Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. N. Kalaiselvi to please present a token of our respect and gratitude to Dr. Malti Lakshmi Kumaran, Executive Director and Practice Head, Lakshmi Kumaran and Siddharthan Attorney. Ma'am, please. Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Dr. Vishwajanani to please present a token of our respect and gratitude to Dr. N. Kalaiselvi, Secretary DSIR and DG CSIR. Ma'am, please. Thank you, ma'am. We are honored to have such dynamic personalities amongst us today. Now I humbly request Dr. Vishwajanani J. Satigiri, Head CSIR Traditional Knowledge Digital Library Unit, to shed light on the National Intellectual Property Festival and accord ceremonial welcome to our distinguished guests. Ma'am, please.
Manli Mantriji, Secretary DSIR and as well as DGCSIR, Dr. Malti Lakshmi Kumaran, distinguished delegates of the dais, and we have amongst us the officials from the DSIR, Ministry of Culture, CSIR, NRDC, DPIIT. We also have from the Indian Knowledge System of the Ministry of Education, patent attorneys, distinguished delegates, colleagues and friends. Namaste. It gives me great pleasure to have you all here to celebrate this very one-of-a-kind festival, the Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav. As part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we are celebrating the past achievements, the contributions of our forefathers. As we move along, we also plan to make things available for our future generation so that they can follow the path of progress and growth. So as I stand on the soil of NPL, I can't but reflect upon some of the buzzwords that's been going on in my head: kinetics, thermodynamics, equilibrium, disruptive forces, cohesive forces. And I was wondering what has it got to do with the festival today? I realized that it was all in a context. Way back, soon after the independence, still under the impact of the colonial rule, we had been facing a lot of difficulties, be it the technology denial or even the self-reliance that was required. The TRIPS agreement in 2005, in 1995, which was enacted in 2005, and also dealing with the misappropriation of traditional knowledge. India rose to the occasion. We moved towards getting an equilibrium with the global practices, and we became a leader in creating innovations and as well as protecting it. While we were doing that, the CSIR took a major role and we were the IP leaders for the country. Fast forward, today, thanks to the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister and very ably guided by our Mantriji, we are today, I think, leading towards a steady state where the lattice is getting stable. We have traditional knowledge, the modern science and technology, and as well as the integration of both, finding their own prime positions with equal value. As we move towards this equilibrium, it also becomes important for any science graduate to understand there's always a constant, the K value, which we all value very well. So the K happens to be, in today's context, the intellectual property rights. And today we are all gathered here to celebrate this. to not only celebrate the achievements that we have made on the intellectual property rights so far, but also have a plan as to how we would move forward in the days to come. This festival, Mantriji, is for a month-long period. We call it the Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav, and there's a lot of activities that has been planned. I'm really glad to say that the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research and the DPIIT have been the main forefronters for this particular festival. The partners include the CSIR, NRDC, the Office of the CG for Patent Designs and Trademark, Sanrachna, and also the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Authorities. We have amongst us Dr. Trilochan Mahopatra, the chairperson of the PPVFRA. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us today. As I said, it's a month-long program. We are targeting awareness workshops and many outreach programs, talks, trainings, workshops, awareness programs, exhibitions, interactive sessions, Farmers Connect, MSME Connect, Industry Connect, Student Connect, and also about the IP training course and certification from the NEPAD. And also we are having interactive sessions to enable IP filing and facilitation. Along these lines, we are targeting about 75,000 stakeholders. The valedictory of this Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav is planned in the first week of August. As part of the program, the DSIR, in addition to whatever I mentioned as the activities, will also be writing to the chief secretaries to facilitate district officers to enable creating awareness and filing of IPR, including the geographical indications on the one district, one product. The CSIR, as you know, we have 37 laboratories across the country. Programs have been planned across all these 37 laboratories, targeting stakeholders that include the industry, MSME, students, artisans, and the others. The NRDC, which has been having organic linkages with the MSME industries, academia, universities, and as well as the research organizations, have targeted 75 filing programs across all the different IPR types. And they have also planned 5 programs, major programs, mega events at 5 strategic locations. The Office of the Controller General of Patent Design and Trademark have decided to have about 50 programs across the NEPAM associate centers and also the IPR chair professors. In addition to that, the Office of the CG will be conducting the IPR course and issuing certificate to all the participants. The CG's office would also be looking at GI filings on the one district, one product that has been rolled out by the Government of India. In addition to that, we have a partner from the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act. The PPVFRA will be targeting farmers and agri students, and also all the partners whomever I have mentioned so far will be sharing resource persons across all the programs that will be conducted in this 1 month long Mahotsav. Learning can be effective when it is associated with fun. As unique part of this festival, there are 2 important things that we have planned. One is a toy hackathon by the CG office, which is targeting students in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. I believe there are about 92,000 participants already registered for this event. All of you might have heard about the Jagannath Rath Yatra, the CSIR laboratory that is situated in this holy soil of Bhubaneswar, that is the CSIR Institute of Minerals and Materials Technology, has proposed a CSIR IP Rath, which will be running for 2 weeks across a 100-kilometer distance from Bhubaneswar. So the plans that we have are dynamic. They are we intend to create pools of IPR knowledge centers across the country through this Mahotsav. We seek the blessings, guidance, support, and partnership of all who are gathered here today and who could carry my voice across to all parts of the country to be part of this Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav. Before I leave, I would like to say and offer my apologies for any oversight, mistake, or fault from my end in conducting this inaugural function. Once again, welcome all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for shedding light on the campaign and providing us the overview. Now, I humbly request our beloved Director General, CSIR, and Secretary DSIR, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, ma'am, to please share her thoughts and enlighten the gathering. Ma'am.
Namaskar, Vanakkam, and pleasant morning to every one of you. Most respected and Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Keynote Speaker, Madam Malati, my CSIR, DSIR family, and the extended family from the supporting organizations like DPIIT and other organizations like NRDC, and supporting system of this particular event of AKAM IP, meaning is Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav Intellectual Property Campaign. Again, it gives me a great pleasure. I'm glad, excited to be a part of this historically important event. Why? Because intellectual property is a very, very great word which should be celebrated, and it should be understood by each and every one of us with some kind of a special emphasis. Before I just take few minutes to talk about it, I take the opportunity of extending a very, very warm welcome to the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, and I join Dr. Vishwajanani and all the organizers in welcoming the Minister, because whatever events that are happening in CSIR and DSIR, we always take the privilege of, I would say, disturbing, troubling Mantriji's office and the Minister to be with us and grace the occasion. And never, both the office as well as the Honorable Minister has disappointed us. And somehow he will squeeze his time and he will make it possible. And today is the most, I would say, busiest day for Honorable Mantriji, but then he made it as a point that I'll try my level best to spend as much time as I can. Sir, as usual, CSIR, DSIR and the entire fraternity is thankful to you, sir, for your presence, and your mere presence gives us a lot more energy. Now coming to the very important festival, friends, for all human beings in life, whether the person is rich or poor, whether he is educated or uneducated, whether he is living in Himalayas or whether he is living on plains or on the marine side, everybody's life will be related to two types of properties. One is movable property, the other one is immovable property. But the scientific fraternity alone will be bestowed, and we are only being bestowed with only the third property, which is the intellectual property. So this movable property and immovable property that could be really managed at an individual level, for which you need not have great education, but even if you have the hard work, you can really acquire it. But to create this intellectual property, definitely you need the knowledge domain. And if you just look at the countries and their importance in the global arena, countries who are rich with movable property and immovable property, they will be mediocre countries. But countries who are able to show a difference and a lead in intellectual property, those countries are only considered as developed countries. We from India, we have been already abundantly blessed by Mother Nature. Therefore, we are not worried. We need not worry about this movable and immovable property. Whereas now this is time for us to prove that from a level of a developing country, we should showcase during this Amrita Kal period of 20 years, and we have to prove the entire globe that we will be the developed country, and we should take the lead not only in the field of science and technology, but also in the global innovation index also. So when it comes to that kind of an importance, this is where the government of India, with a kind of a deep thought process, they started announcing number of events by means of which this awareness on intellectual property, the importance for intellectual property, and how best the other expanded wings of the intellectual property, whether it is a trademark or the copyright or the design factor, or it is a freedom to operate, all these factors, how best the country at this point of time can really come up with a better management of all these factors, by means of which we ensure that India is at its I would say topmost gear, and we have to demonstrate our preparedness in this way. So in the year 2017, country came up with a kind of an announcement. It is Innovative India and Creative India. So from that time onwards, the awareness on IPR started, I think it started reaching up to the level of school children, college students, and even the general public. And now country strongly believes, apart from researchers, apart from industries, it is the startup, it is the MSME, it is the entrepreneur who also should be taken into account, and only by making a great consortia of academia, research organization, industries at different levels, I would say startups, MSMEs and entrepreneurs, if all of them are put under a great consortia mode, and if at all innovation related or intellectual property related some kind of privileges could be given, I think the country can excel. With that kind of an idea, if you just look at the announcement of the Government of India, even today 80% of rebate is given to startups whenever they want to go for filing of a patent. If they want to go for some kind of a trademark related application, 50% waiver is given to them. If at all a startup is coming with a kind of an industrial design, there is a separate column that is created for such kind of startups, and 100% waiver is given to that. So what else a country can give to its own citizens? So they are promoting science and technology by way of giving the most important ways of putting their supporting hands in terms of direct support and indirect support. And the country has made each and every one of us to understand that we have to project our research objectives to fulfill and to cater to the requirements of the industry. And this is where today we are joining hands from DSIR, the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. We are joining hands with DPIIT, Department for the Promotion of Internal and Industrial Research. So I think these are the two closely related organizations. So we have realized, and especially at the recent times, we realized that we both should really work together, and this kind of a synergy will be showcased in the coming days in the way of taking the importance of intellectual property to the various parts of this country. And sir, without taking much of time, I just wish to say that we from DSIR and CSIR, we have also started initiating and introducing new measures by means of which IP filing will also increase. Quality, we are not worried about the quantity, we are worried about the quality, standards and accountability. And also we are giving now importance to IPR fencing, meaning which how best you can make one patent very rugged system by means of which it cannot be penetrated by anyone and everyone. So that kind of awareness we are also getting. And sir, knowing the importance of our GI, now we are also taking some additional efforts how best our research could be correlated and could be value added in the area of GI also. And even along with us, with the DSIR and CSIR, NRDC is also joining, and they have recently opened 2 additional centers where again IP promotion and technology commercialization is only gaining the importance. So with these few words, once again, I take this opportunity to say my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who are decorating this audience, this auditorium, not to just to listen to whatever is discussed here, but as the way it was told by Dr. Janani, please carry the message. Carry the message to different parts of the country. Also, you realize the importance of IP, and if at all we are able to come up with any more new models, CSIR and DSIR, both of us are open. We can discuss, we can work in synergy, and we can showcase. The ultimate aim is, as I used to say every time, next 6 years, they are going to decide the fate of the country for next 6 decades. And especially the Amritkal should be the period wherein India should showcase its self-reliance and Atmanirbharta. And this event, which is getting inaugurated today, it is just yet another feather on the cap of, I would say, Atmanirbharta, for which we should really work with more than enough sincerity. And I look forward to your cooperation and support. Thank you so very much. Look forward to listen to each and every.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your golden words. We are fortunate to have you as the shield and anchor of CSIR. Thank you once again, ma'am. I'm delighted to announce that we have Dr. Malati Lakshmi Kumaran as our keynote speaker today. She has more than 30 years of experience in the field of biochemistry and molecular biology, with an expertise in plant genomics, DNA fingerprinting, and genetic transformation. She serves as an executive director and heads the life science group at the IP division of the firm. She is a registered patent agent and has been actively engaged in preparing, filing, and prosecuting of patent applications both in India and abroad. She mainly works on pharmaceutical, chemical, and biotechnological patent applications. She advises clients on plant variety protection and registration. She has successfully supervised several PhD students in the area of plant molecular biology and has more than 100 publications to her credit in international and national journals. May I now humbly request you, ma'am, for the keynote address. Ma'am, please.
Can I have the slides? Okay, sorry. I take this opportunity to thank CSIR for inviting me as a keynote address. I'm always part of CSIR. At NCL, I finished my PhD way back in 1980, and therefore CSIR is close to my heart. In addition, I'm also empaneled, our firm is empaneled on CSIR, and therefore we have a special place for CSIR. I will also thank the Honorable Minister for coming today for the inaugural of this great event. And so without too much time, let me start talking. I'm not able to see the... Okay, fine. Okay, so today what we want to do is a quick... I know I'm not going to take too much time because the Minister is also having other work and projects. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can I have the next slide? Or I can do it. Yeah. So today we are as spelled out by Dr. Singh. Yeah, as spelled out by Singh. It was great to hear you, ma'am, with your passion, and it actually came out that we all should now start working too much on IPR. Actually, it all started with Dr. Mashalkar. He was in NCL when I was doing my PhD, and Doraiswamy was our director, and I worked with the great Dr. Jagannathan. So it's always been a pleasure seeing the passion and energy, and great the way you spoke with you and Dr. Janani. It gives us, now we all have to start working up. So with this passion, let's start work, and it is, we have to be in this era of knowledge creation and how we can protect these innovations by intellectual property. How do we come? India is the largest democracy in the world, and we are the 5th largest in economy. And in a couple of years, in few years, we should go to the 4th level. We'll go to the 3rd. We'll be the 3rd largest economy, overtaking UK. So it will only be US and China. So we need to look forward. If we have to go there, like what Dr. Kaleshwari said, is we need to create and have this knowledge economy, and so that we can go up, not only being the largest economy, the 3rd largest economy, but this. But one of the issues that we have is we only spend about 0.7% of the GDP on R&D. It is low as compared to other countries. China, US, it is 2 to 3%, and in Israel it is 5%. So 5% of the GDP goes into R&D, and you can see how much of intellectual wealth that they are creating. So we need a robust IP protection. It has to be strengthened, and we need a good R&D ecosystem. And we'd like to see our country as an R&D hub. And therefore, we do have several examples. We've had this Covaxin, and everybody knows about the coronavirus, and where we have the Covaxin developed by ICMR and Bharat Biotech. The Covishield from Serum Institute, in collaboration, of course, with AstraZeneca for bringing it in. But we are the largest manufacturer of vaccines, and we are there. So we have different other things. I won't go too much into detail. They are there for the 5G, 6G. We have got the personal health train. for radiation oncology in India. We have design for dynamic map and so on. We have many, many things, but we have to enhance the global trade. And as we see that South Korea and Singapore, they've leveraged IPR to achieve self-reliance. So how do we do it? We have to transform our resource-dependent economies, and we need to embrace innovations and protect IP. As I said, and Dr. Kalai also said, we are actually 42nd among the 55 leading global economies, and we need to go up there. If we can, by the release of the IP policy, I can clearly see that we can go there, we can go above, and 42 is not the place we should be. And I surely by increasing and having a better and strengthening the IPR, we can go much, much above. And so how IP nurtures innovation and progress? We need financial incentives to encourage individuals and business to invest time, labor, resources, talent into coming up with new innovations. And these new innovations have to be incentivized by giving them protection. And so we all need to really drive the technological advancements and pushing this. We've also seen that the patent office, the CG's office has really pushed up their game, and we can see now that the pendency has come down. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there is, with the present manpower, they have been able to bring down the pendency. If you see the red bar, they've really come down, and now India is much faster than other countries, even US, Europe, China, where the first examination report comes within 6 months, sometimes within a month. And therefore we need to strengthen. We also have the creation of the IP division in Delhi High Court. It has been great. We've got very good orders. More than 600 patent matters have been listed, and they are heard on merits. It's great, and it has exercised their discretion to condone several statutory delays. We also see, like we see here, and I'm very happy to see so many women on the stage, and so we also need to have more innovators. And if it is, we are 50-50 men and women, can we have more women entrepreneurs? Can we see women more in GI? Because we do see them in patents, but can we have GI? Because if you see the GI industry, a lot of the, whether it is in the toys, whether it is in handicrafts, it is women, and also into agriculture. So how can we have a better, more women innovators, and so on? As Dr. Kalai also said, we do have a lot of programs for startups. The patent office, the CG's office, has given a lot of rebates for startups, MSMEs, and so on, including universities. So can we have, this is a great innovative initiative that has been started. It's called the Bharat Inclusion Initiative. And this Center for Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship is at IIM Ahmedabad, and we see that this is going to be a game changing for startups. However, what I was thinking is that there are several types of IP developments we have in Karnataka and so on. But because I'm standing here at NPL, I said, what can we do for green technologies? Now, green technologies is important for us to reduce the carbon emission, and India has committed at the COP26 that we will have something called as a Panch Amrit. And in the Panch Amrit, what we are planning to do is to reach the 500 gigawatts non-fossil energy capacity by 2030. 50% of all our energy requirements will come from renewable energy by 2030. There will be a reduction in the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons till 2030, and the reduction of carbon intensity of the economy by 40% or 45% by 2030. And we want to achieve net target of net zero emission of carbon dioxide by 2070. And for this, we need a very strong IPR. We need a strong innovation, otherwise it will be difficult to achieve it. And if you look at the green technologies, I've just given some of them. It could be renewable energy, it could be electric vehicles, it could be e-waste management, and green hydrogen. However, the government of India has put in a lot of effort to see how we can go green. And one of the things that are important is on the green hydrogen. And we want to keep the same emission as what we were in 2005. And therefore, this green hydrogen having its importance. Now, what is green hydrogen? Green hydrogen is nothing where you produce hydrogen but not using fossil energy, not using fossil fuels and using renewable energy. So you can electrolysis of water using electricity produced by renewable energy. At present, we have alkaline and polymer electrolyte membrane electrolyzers and are two commercially available technologies for green hydrogen. And therefore, there's a great importance for coming up with green hydrogen. And as you can see from this graph, hydrogen has the potential. It has higher specific energy as compared to all other hydrocarbon fuels, such as gasoline, diesel. You can pressurize it, you can liquefy it, and that will be the two properties. And therefore, you see in the graph at the top is where you have the hydrogen as compared to other fuels. So this is the way to go, is green hydrogen. And what we see under the IP, that we are seeing that the graph going up are the patents which are being filed for green hydrogen, and also hydrogen production and also green hydrogen production. And in 2017, the number of patent families for water electrolysis based hydrogen surpassed the number of patent families for liquid hydrocarbon electrolysis. So this clearly shows that the government of India wants to put a lot of effort to come to green hydrogen, and by 2050, we want 50% of all energy coming from green hydrogen. And therefore, what is this National Green Hydrogen Mission? It's been approved by the Union Cabinet on 4th January 2023. It is Make India the global hub for production, usage, export of green hydrogen and its derivatives. So we have demand creation, we are incentivizing the supply, but we also have key enablers. And one of it is conducting research, having R&D and so on. I don't want to take too much time because I know the minister is busy. And the key enablers in the National Green Hydrogen Mission are the grand challenges, projects with midterm 0 to 8 years, critical technologies to overcome licensing challenges that we may have, the blue sky projects. We also have establishing the global IP and the competitive advantage for Indian industries and encouraging MSMEs startup to work on indigenous technology for the development of green hydrogen. And therefore, we expect about 3.6 gigatons of cumulative carbon dioxide emission reduction from 2020 to 2050 if we go ahead with this green hydrogen. And finally, as Kalai we also said, we need to also talk, we always talk about patents, trademark, but what about GI? And therefore, I would like to conclude that it's not necessarily only patent, but we also look at GI and the creation of an ecosystem for incentivizing creativity, empowering local craftsmen, especially women, to become Atmanirbhar, and this in turn will lead to more protection of GIs, fostering R&D for economic growth, and this can play a very pivotal role in India going up the global IP index. And with this, I thank the organizers and CSIR for giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your valuable experiences and highlighting the role of women innovators. So I would like to say a few lines for all the women innovators in IP, including you. अभी रोशन हुआ है रास्ता, वो देखो आईपी जगत की नारी आ रही हैं, रिश्तों में बंधी जिनकी दुनिया सारी, वह अब अपनी प्रतिभा, नवाचार और रचनात्मकता से सारी दुनिया को नया आकार देती जा रही हैं। वैज्ञानिक सफलताएं हों या व्यवसाय का हो निर्माण, वे अनगिनत रचनात्मक रुझान स्थापित करती जा रही हैं। कॉपीराइट हो, ट्रेडमार्क हो, पेटेंट हो, भौगोलिक संकेत हो या पौधों की किस्में हो, हर पग को रोशन करने वाली वो एक शक्ति है, वो एक नारी है। सच में सभी राष्ट्रीय बौद्धिक संपदा में तेजी ला रही हैं, वे वसुंधरा को स्वर्ग बनाती जा रही हैं। थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू ऑल। Now the time has come to witness the significant milestone of the release of the video on Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav. So I'm delighted to announce this release, and I humbly request Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh ji and dignitaries on the dais to kindly release the video. Sir, please. I request the audience to wholeheartedly applause.
आदिकाल से ही जहाँ की धरा ज्ञान और तकनीक से समृद्ध रही है, इसीलिए तो भारत पूरे विश्व को सदियों से नया मार्ग दिखाता आया है। चाहे वो शून्य की खोज हो या चेहरे के पुनर्निर्माण के लिए प्रयोग में आ रही प्लास्टिक सर्जरी, वजन मापने की प्रणाली हो या कपास द्वारा प्राकृतिक रेशे की खेती, भारतीय ज्ञान का लोहा सभी मानते हैं। भारत हमेशा से अपने ज्ञान और टेक्नोलॉजी की विरासत की अमूल्य संपदा को आगे ले जाता रहा है। तभी तो मन और शरीर को जोड़ने वाला योग आज भारतीय संस्कृति की पहचान बन वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की भावना को जागृत कर रहा है। जब पूरा विश्व कोविड जैसी महामारी का सामना कर रहा था, तब भारत ने वैक्सीन मैत्री से समाज और दुनिया को उम्मीद की किरण दिखाई। कई वैश्विक चुनौतियों का हल भारतीय नवाचार और अनुसंधान से मिला है। आइए 1 जुलाई से 31 जुलाई तक होने वाले आईपी महोत्सव में शामिल होकर भारतीय धरा की इस अद्भुत पहचान द्वारा भारत को अमृत काल में ज्ञान का विश्व गुरु बनाने का संकल्प लेते हैं। क्रिएटिव इंडिया और इनोवेटिव इंडिया द्वारा भारतीय कल्चर और साइंस को नई ऊंचाई पर ले जाने का दृढ़ निश्चय करते हैं और एक बार फिर से दुनिया को भारतीय टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशन सॉल्यूशन से ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस का हल देते हैं। साथ ही आत्मनिर्भर होकर जो भारत का अपना है, उस पर भारतीयता का गर्व लेते हैं। आत्मनिर्भरता के लिए इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी वो चाबी है जिससे टेक्नोलॉजी और नॉलेज आधारित अर्थव्यवस्था का निर्माण करने के लिए पिछले 9 वर्षों में प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के कुशल और दूरदर्शी नेतृत्व में भारत हर क्षेत्र में नए कीर्तिमान स्थापित करता हुआ अमृतकाल की यात्रा पर चल पड़ा है।
हमारी विरासत के प्रति, क्योंकि यही विरासत है जिसने कभी भारत का स्वर्णिम काल किया, और यही विरासत है जो समय को बिल्कुल परिवर्तन करने की आदत रही। यही विरासत है जो काल बाह्य छोड़ती रही है, नित्य नूतन स्वीकारती रही है। और इसलिए इस विरासत के प्रति हमें गर्व होना चाहिए।
ये महोत्सव अमृतकाल की इस गौरवशाली यात्रा में आपको इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी की भारतीय पहचान को पुनः स्थापित करने का मौका दे रहा है। प्रधानमंत्री जी की ये हमेशा से सोच रही है कि टेक्नोलॉजी इंडिया ओरिएंटेड होनी चाहिए और हमारे सर्वोत्तम अनुसंधान और नवाचार का उपयोग आम नागरिक की समस्याओं के समाधान के लिए होना चाहिए। इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी यानी बौद्धिक संपदा भारतीय विरासत है और इसी विरासत ने तो भारत को कभी स्वर्णिम काल दिया था और यही विरासत है जो समय के अनुकूल परिवर्तन करने की क्षमता रखती है। आत्मनिर्भरता को सक्षम करने में प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 5 प्राण का लक्ष्य दिया, पर इस लक्ष्य को हासिल करने के लिए भारत को वैश्विक व्यापार एवं विज्ञान के क्षेत्र में अपनी बौद्धिक संपदा का साथ लेकर नवाचार करना होगा। डिपार्टमेंट फॉर प्रमोशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्री एंड इंटरनल ट्रेड DBIIT और डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंटिफिक एंड इंडस्ट्रियल रिसर्च DSIR द्वारा आयोजित 1 महीने तक चलने वाले आईपी महोत्सव में नए आइडियाज, इन्वेंशंस, ट्रेडिशंस और प्रैक्टिसेस का मूल्यांकन करते हुए नए आविष्कार के द्वारा बौद्धिक संपदा आधारित पेटेंट, GI, ट्रेडमार्क, डिजाइन, कॉपीराइट से आत्मनिर्भर होने के लिए ठोस नींव रखी जाएगी। भारत के वैज्ञानिकों, युवाओं और छात्रों की भागीदारी से 1 जुलाई से 31 जुलाई तक देश भर में कई स्थानों पर स्थानीय स्तर पर भी राष्ट्रीय बौद्धिक संपदा महोत्सव के आयोजन होंगे। इस महोत्सव के दौरान भारतीय अपनी बौद्धिक संपदा व्यवस्था को पहचाने और इसे सम्मान देने के लिए प्रेरित हों, ये सुनिश्चित किया जा रहा है। आइए भारतीय बौद्धिक संपदा की विरासत को आगे ले जाते हुए प्रधानमंत्री जी के दिए गए पंच प्राण के लक्ष्य को सिद्ध करें। अमृत काल में एक नए विकसित भारत की ओर कदम बढ़ाते हुए अपनी बौद्धिक संपदा में हमारा अपना नाम जोड़ें और गर्व करें कि मेरी बौद्धिक संपदा मेरा अभिमान।
Thank you all. Now I am delighted to announce the MOU exchange between CSIR Traditional Knowledge Digital Library Unit and Indian Traditional Knowledge Systems Division of Ministry of Education. I request the dignitaries on the dais to please step forward for the MOU exchange, and I request Dr. Anuradha Chaudhary, Coordinator IKS, and Sri Anil Kumar, Senior Scientist CSIR TKDL Unit, to please join on the stage for the MOU exchange. I request the dignitaries on the dais for the MOU exchange. IKS and CSIR TKDL unit have agreed to work together on matters of traditional knowledge, intellectual property rights, and knowledge holder rights, and have proposed to conduct joint activities related to these subject areas. The broad objectives of collaboration between parties include educational trainings, programs, seminars, webinars, conferences, exhibitions, workshops, and publications. Thank you. We are indeed delighted and honored to have the gracious presence of the chief guest of today's event, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Science and Technology, Vice President CSIR, and Chairman, National Implementation Committee, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. I request you, sir, to please address the august gathering with your golden words. Sir, please.
Director General CSIR, Dr. Kalai, Dr. Malhotra, Dr. Malati, and Dr. Vijay Sanni, all the senior members of the faculty, Director NPL, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I have to congratulate you. I think this is the first of its kind, this Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada, also that is being observed under the aegis of Government of India. NPL is being traditionally known to be an institution creating history time and again, and I think this is once again one of the first that you are having. You are one of the first labs, one of the first clocks, and I think this was very appropriate to have this as the venue for this celebration and this occasion. Dr. Kalai Selvi has already set the tone of what is going to be discussed, and thank you for having also clarified certain things. Because when I was walking in, I thought I was going to begin my day discussing intellectuals and their properties, but she made it very clear, no movable property here, no immovable property. So anything besides that, if you consider property, is there. But yes, I appreciate the essence, and in fact the concept of intellectual property right has emerged in recent years and been discussed, but it did have its premium even in the times when this term was not coined. There is a folklore story of an Indian prince or an Indian king whose territory got conquered by an alien ruler, and the king was sent to prison, and that was in isolation. And there were a couple of others also who were put in prison. So incidentally, he shared his cabin with a person who was given to this weaving of garments. And then the story goes that there was no way how he could communicate to his subjects back to his kingdom where he was located, because he'd been taken away to an unknown destination. So the weaver who was accompanying the king prepared a sheet or a bed sheet or whatever, and in the local lingo, his own language, created a design and also wrote the address of the jail or the prison where it had been kept, and sent it across to be sold across the region. And finally, when it reached the king's allies and his people back home, they could understand from that the diction in design about the location of the king, and then they invaded and liberated it. So that also is a story related to intellectual property, when the concept of intellectual property rights did not exist. So there is a value to this, and sometimes, of course, when as Dr. Jitendra was saying, sometimes when the movable, immobile does not help, this does help. It also helps you to move when your movement has been curtailed, as was the story narrating. And I think of late in the last 9 years, because this is also the time when we are going around making an account, evaluating the last 9 years of the Prime Minister Modi, and also celebrating all the success stories. This has been one of the better periods as far as the science pursuit, science endeavors are concerned, because Prime Minister Modi has given science an esteem, scientists an esteem, and also raised it as a subject of international deliberations, which was not so, as you recently witnessed even during his just concluded US visit. The predominant subject which is noticed in the joint statement is nothing but science-related issues. Of course, I don't have to read the kind of objective ascent that India has achieved in Global Innovation Index. For example, we have jumped 31 places from 81 to 40. The startup ecosystem, we started very late. We started only in a true sense, we started only in 2016, after Prime Minister Modi had given a call from the ramparts of the Red Fort during his Independence Day address. But in just a couple of years, we have gone to number 3 ranking in the startup ecosystem in the world. So that's a huge quantum jump. It's been mainly because of the fact that the government has been absolutely patronizing, has placed all these pursuits as a very high priority. And it was again in 2016 that the Indian it's 2016 that we came out with the Indian with the Intellectual Property Right Act, and prior to that, I think the need was realized because of the patent registration, and the grant of patents was considered to be a very tedious process in India, which actually discouraged many of the potential patent holders or even potential scientific or innovative workers, and they chose to go to other places or maybe even move out of India, because we had an average, not very flattering, about 6 years, whereas the other countries most of them had less than 5 years. China, I think, just about 2 years. So therefore, after this act has come in, at least the registration, trademark registration has come down to 1 month from more than 1 year, which it was earlier. So there has been a statistical difference in the last 6-7 years. It was also around the same time when the startup scheme came in 2016, also the same time. And then to add to that, the startup intellectual property protection. I have been quite often, asking myself how best now to sustain these startups. I think the next level for to be addressed would be sustainable startups. We have crossed 1 lakh figure. We don't have the follow-up or the track of where they've gone. We just counted how many got registered. So, in some of the countries, they have mechanisms in place for that too. Sometimes, if required, that can be thought about. But now that we are still in a initial stage, we may not prefer to bother these ones who have already registered by appearing to be intimidatory. But at the same time, we have to make sure that they sustain themselves wherever they are, and the sustenance is possible by constant innovation, constant creativity, by moving from one level to the other, by also linking it with industries in order to produce a lucrative source of livelihood, because after all they are members of the same society, children of the same society. So if a youngster is into a startup pursuit and his peer buys a big car or whatever, then he would also have the same urge. If he not, maybe his family and his peers would put him into the pressure. So you cannot isolate him from his socio-economic milieu. For that, you have to also create conditions where it is conducive for him. He finds it attractive to be tied down to the pursuit, because otherwise the pursuit may be there in his heart, the aspiration may be there, may he not be able to follow it up, which has been quite often happening in this country, till we actually came in with a number of reforms in the last 8-9 years. And it has been noticed that after this startup intellectual property protection scheme was brought in, there has been 80% also rebate being offered in patent filing, 50% rebate in filing vis-a-vis the industry and the companies. So I think there's a huge lot of encouragement and promotion both for startups in the terms of being innovative and also in the terms of being entrepreneurs. And finally, I think this would end up in, and I think as someone was mentioning, Dr. Malati was saying, the awareness part of it is important, because many people or the stakeholders across the country are still not aware of what all the government has to offer as far as the startup scheme is. So we have incidentally the DPIIT secretary also with us. I think together we can evolve some mechanism, because some of the mechanisms which reach those, we have to reach them through the channels that they are accessible to. Maybe that is social media or tweets or jingles. Nobody would see the ad which is appearing in a print newspaper. So we have to reach them through the medium which reaches them. Because I keep going, and then you can couple these startup schemes with the other schemes which Prime Minister Modi has brought in. Like, for example, you have Mudra scheme. So you could have a startup, you could have Mudra. Now, many people are not aware. Only yesterday I was there in one of the very suburban areas, and I was telling them, I said, this is a scheme which offers you a loan of 10 lakh, 20 lakh, without any gratuity, without any mortgage, almost interest-free to a certain amount. It's just like parents, when the child grows up, the boy grows up, the parents say, look, this is, ye mere zindagi bhar ki poonji hai, main tumhe de raha hu, tum jaake ko kaam dhanda shuru karo. There is such a sensitivity behind planning this scheme. But many people are not aware of this, and that's why they are not able to avail of it. Even though I think about 12 lakh crore has already been distributed, incidentally mostly to women. So all these schemes also act in supplementation to each other, and finally could reinforce the startup ecosystem and the startup capacity of the individual or the groups of individuals who are into this. So that is one part. And the other part, of course, what is exclusive to India is what the TKDL in charge of Anne was saying. I think that is an exclusive property to us. Like just you are protecting intellectual property, this is something which is already protected. Because this traditional knowledge, which is India's inherited, asset, does not belong to any other country. Because we have over the years, over the centuries, from generation to generation, both written, unwritten, oral knowledge. And I'm glad that they have now set up a repository which is also digital. And if you are able to combine this with the modern or the contemporary not only technology, contemporary awareness and information with the traditional heritage, I think we can also come up with an optimum mix which would be exclusive to us. And since CSIR has a very wide range, it is there into structure building, it is there into chemicals, it is there into clean energy, it is there into hydrogen, it is there into mechanical, it is there in road construction. So I think you can be the best institution to take a lead. Like once I was there in Bhubaneswar when the cyclone happened, I think 2001 or 2002, and I was trying to ask everybody, I still not find out the answer. I think now TKDL and CSIR and our Road Institute can find out. Everything went topsy-turvy except the Konark temple. And I'm saying this because we've been witness to that, because we had a conference there, and we were there, some of us. All the poles upside down, all the buildings upside down. It was such a huge, it was a deadly cyclone which has gone down, one of the worst cyclones ever in the 20th century or the 21st century beginning. It was just the beginning. And it was only there. So what was the architecture, what was the survey done in the absence of base technology techniques or the modern survey? So we could marry some of those things and also try to inculcate. And I'm glad that we have tried to institutionalize the traditional knowledge, its exploitation and its appropriation. And since we have also started this one district, one product, and some of our labs are also able to showcase these aspects which are exclusive to them. And as we move on, I think we are just in the early stages. But what is the difference now is that the pace is almost equal to most of the other countries, because I too, belonging to the same fraternity, also try to keep myself abreast of what is happening outside. We are not lagging behind as it was till a few years ago. Like for example, I was telling some of the American visitors yesterday, only 3 days back. I said, see, for example, the best example is that of television. The television happened in US in 1950s, and the famous 1960 election, which Kennedy got elected, was determined by a TV debate. So when we heard that a TV debate has turned the tables from Richard Nixon to Kennedy, we were at wit's end. We didn't know what to talk about. What is TV and what is debate? Now, of course, we are debating for wrong reasons about abusing each other. That's different. But they already had an institutionalized telecast system, and they had an issue, which of course they carry till now also, where the presidential candidate. Whereas in India, television happened somewhere in 1970 or so, and that too, 1 hour, Chitrahar, this, that. Now it's not so. For example, quantum technology, I think, is one of the best examples. Only 3 months back, 2 months back, we have come out with a quantum mission policy, and we are now in the same league as other 5-6 countries. But they are also in the R&D stage, and we are also in the R&D. It's not that they have already applied it, popularized it, and then we got enamored and then adopted it. Same thing happened with the computers. So, even in the case of mobile. So, at least that is one great advantage and vindication in the last 8-9 years. And thanks again to Prime Minister Modi, because he's been carrying that kind of vision. We are keeping an equal pace. So, we are at the equal level. And that's the reason, if today we are invited to the International Space Station, because the lady who was speaking in Hindi very beautifully, to use her jargon, पहले हम उनसे सहयोग मांगते थे, अब वो हमसे सहयोग मांग रहे हैं. So we are in the equal platform. And you see the difference. The difference is that when they landed on the surface of the moon in 1969, Neil Armstrong, we were nowhere. Sarabhai was carrying on his carriage the launcher. And today, they are asking us to contribute or lend one of our astronauts to have a joint mission. So I think this is one of the best times happening, optimum times happening. And if we are into the intellectual property right business, if we are into the exercise of startup intellectual property right protection, we have the advantage of supplementing the startup ventures with our traditional knowledge, which is not happening as frequently as it could happen here. And if we do that, we would actually have an edge over other countries. Well, this is something which is exclusive to us. And I'm glad that an initiation has been made under Dr. Kalai Selvi, and of course our natural partner is DPIIT. I hope they'll accommodate you to the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening and motivating words. It was an enthralling experience to hear you, sir. Your words have imprinted deep and will continue to resound as we tread forward in our journey of life. We salute you, sir, for your continuous inspiration and encouraging our efforts. You are our hero, our icon, and we look up to you to be the wind beneath our wings as we tread for the sun. Thank you so much, sir. I said, we salute you, sir, for your continuous inspiration and your words are imprinted deep and will continue to resound as we tread forward in our journey of life. We salute you, sir, for your continuous inspiration and encouraging our efforts. You are our hero, our icon, and we look up to you to be the wind beneath our wings as we reach for the sun.
Now, since I appreciated your Hindi, you're trying to prove that you can also speak English. So, मैंने सोचा आप कहेंगे कि आप हमारे नायक हैं या महानायक हैं. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Also, we have Mr. Rajesh Kumar Singh, IAS Secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. We welcome you, sir, to the Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav. Now we move forward towards the IP Samvad, that is the interaction of our Honorable Minister, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, with the participants, both online and offline. So I request Dr. Venugopal Achanta, Director CSIR-NPL, to please join us on the dais and moderate the IP Samvad. Sir, please. We have participants in both online and offline mode. So the participants who are joining us through the online mode, I request you all to please raise your hands in order to ask the question, and we will unmute you one by one so that you can ask questions from our Honorable Minister. So the online participants, they are requested to please raise their hands in order to ask questions. We will take questions from the participants of both online and offline mode.
Anybody online? Not see any hands raised. Then maybe we can ask somebody in the audience first. Okay. Vipin is there. Please introduce yourself and then. You can come forward with it. myself, scientist, CSIR-NPL. I'd like to ask a question because I have the experience on the university system back from the DHU, and then I came to NPL as a scientist. So I've seen in India more than 10,000 universities, but if you see the culture of the patent is very less. The reason behind that, if suppose a researcher is trying to do the patent file, it takes the time like in patent 6 years, or at US patent also like 4 to 5 years. So how we can encourage these kinds of things in our India that can promote more potentially, because we have more than 10,000 universities.
No, I think we were already discussing, this is a concern which is everybody seized of us, and Secretary DPIT in his talk will be also able to throw more light on this. And that's the reason this scheme came in. And now the time duration is gradually reducing. But of course, in order to be competitive, we have to be at par. I think China. So you are right. I think this is something that we have to make up for. Otherwise, it's not conducive to a healthy growth, or it will also not encourage many people into this.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Pune Krishna, I am working as the intellectual property scientist over here. I have a small suggestion to you. One of the major challenges that our universities or the research institutes are facing is commercialization of the patents, or the commercialization of IP. So if we can develop a IP licensing portal where the institutes can actually post their patent information, and industry can come up, industry can connect with the research institutes through that, it will be really helpful for the commercialization of patents.
I think I am myself a very strong supporter of this, and to add to what you are saying, there are I think this what you are saying is also to an extent being experimented in IIT Madras. They engage the industry, they allow them into the campus also to do a Reiki themselves. Instead of going to portal, they are allowed. But I think there are 2-3 ways. One, of course, is a portal. The other is that we could have industry as an equal partner right from the beginning in any project that is taken up. But that cannot be that you don't have to be ambiguous or skeptic about this partnership. So industry may be allowed the liberty to do even the mapping, to suggest to you how you move forward as a scientific worker, so that only in the ultimate both the outcomes are beneficial to both. And I hope in the National Research Foundation that we are now envisaging, we will be able to take care of these things. But I agree to you, industry has, and the demarcation between private and public has to go off, the sooner the better. Otherwise, beyond certain point, it's not possible to grow.
Thanks.
Any other suggestions, comment? Yes, there's one more.
Thank you. Sir, I represent a startup working in oil and gas industry. Our startup is currently incubated at National Research and Development Corporation. I want to ask a question that as a startup, we are very aggressive in filing our applications because ultimately it will protect our business. But when we go into the research institutions, they are more focused on getting quality research, and that may take more time as compared to a startup. So my question is that how in 5 years down the line, the amount of patents being filed from a startup side as well as research side will have a difference, clear difference. So how to bring harmony in timing as well as quality of the patents which is being granted?
No, you are very well said. Actually, there is a mismatch at 2 levels happening in this country, which I hope the National Research Foundation may, at some point of time, take. One is the infrastructure. So some of the institutions are very well equipped compared to the others. As a result of which, they also get easy funding. Now, for example, we have this SERP in the BST, the Society for Engineering Research Board, Science Engineering Research Board. I was trying to study the figures, and I was I'm taken aback. 65% of the funding has gone to IITs. Those to the initial 5 ones, the original IITs. And among the newer ones, I think Hyderabad has come over. But we, as you rightly said, we have startups and these young researchers spread all over. And the most neglected are the universities and the institutions which are under state management or in the semi-urban and urban areas. They get hardly 10%. So this mismatch, this uniformity has to happen at both levels. At the level of funding and also at the level of uniform infrastructure. When we are funding, and the funding authority will always look for, an optimum or compatible funding, which it would, and therefore consciously or unconsciously, it would prefer a startup who is placed in a better infrastructural environment. So all these things, they make a vicious cycle. So I agree with you totally, and that's why the need to have such a mechanism. I'm sure we'll be able to do so in the next less than 5 years. You said 5 years. We are looking forward to have it earlier than that. One initiation was made. Day before yesterday, the cabinet at least approved the idea of having a national research foundation. And then we could also have a synergy of all the institutions, all the ministries, both private, public, and a huge industry involvement.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe one last question. Question or suggestion, comment. Take this one. Sir, I am Dr. Pavan Kumar from CSIR-NPL Bhubaneswar. We'll be celebrating this very grandly by CSIR IP Rath, going to the villages, schools, colleges. And sir, in our observation, what we found is a proper awareness and understanding on IPR is a big lacking in our communities. So if we can come up with a compulsory curriculum from school and college onwards, that will add to our efforts.
In fact, I was suggesting to the colleagues in the education department also that certain things have to be, some of the curriculum has to be relooked. This is of course the newer ingredients which were not there in the tradition. Secondly, also in the existing components also some revisiting, like for example statistics, most neglected subject in our curriculum. I was telling them you need to revisit and revise the curriculum, also add huge component of AI, artificial intelligence. That's why we are not able to create our data. And something, all over wherever I have been going, I mean even before I was part of the government, the normal complaint is that they are not able to get good statistical results. I mean, forever, whatever, even if you write a paper, do a project, it published, and you give it to the statistician, you don't get satisfactory results. Whereas it was slightly better about 20 years ago, back 30 years back. So I found an answer for that. In the British pattern of education, you had statistics as a subject right from the beginning. In fact, I did my class 12. I too had statistics as a subject. And the very first vice president of CSIR, Dr. Sama Prasad Mukherjee, who was instrumental in having set up NPL, was a PhD in statistics. It's a very lesser known fact. People think he may be PhD in political science or other things because of his Jammu Kashmir connection and all those things. So statistics was given a very high priority even in those times when we didn't have that much of widened spectrum. Now it's all the more required. Even in our post-graduation courses, I find statistics is not a preferred subject to be taken up. So I agree with you. A lot of re-looking needs to be done.
During part of this program, we are tying up with NVS, KVS in and around Odisha. We are doing similar kind of activity. Thank you.
So I'm Archana Shaka, a partner and a patent practitioner for the last 30 years. I would like to first congratulate the government, DPIT and the city office, Because according to me, I think the COVID period was one of the most productive periods for patents in India, where the drive by the government to bring down the time for grant of patents was incredibly reduced. My question to you, sir, is a couple of questions. The World Economic Forum recently released a paper where they were dealing with the 10 futuristic technologies. As a country, India has a large number of startups and huge investment. I wouldn't say a lot of investment in research, but have we ever done an analysis of which are the domains that these startups are actually investing? Are they innovations, creativity, and to what extent are they kind of focusing on futuristic technology?
When I was saying that we don't have a mechanism in place to track these startups, that's precisely what was there in my mind. Once you're able to track, you'll be able to elicit inputs for this. What are the domains commonly preferred A? But are those the domains which need to be preferred B? I'm adding to your questions. You said a couple of questions, a couple of A, B, C. Then if not, then what are the domains they should have preferred? For that, the industry mapping. Now, I don't know whether Dr. Kalesari realized this your Lavender success story. I was trying to introspect why it's gained such a huge success. This aroma mission has become very popular. Over 3,000 people there making that. Because right from the beginning, it occurred to some of those who were involved that we should have a market linkage. And they got linked to some of the perfume companies. That too in places like Mumbai, the Hon'ble Min. So the moment these boys started, got into this, the technology help was already available to produce on different kind of aroma products, including perfumes, etc. And within no time, within 1 year, less than 1 year, they were selling those small bottles for 15,000. In fact, that boy the other day was again that the boy who's become your brand ambassador. What is this? Bharat Bhushan. But he was actually telling us, I think some of the local things, CNN and other, he said first year went from 10,000 to 60,000. Next year 60 to 1 lakh, third year 1 to 1.5. So that linkage is also required to sustain it. So all these things are actually hooked on to each other. Which domain, which to go, which not to go. And also, we have certain domains which are exclusive to India. That the other factor which has contributed to this success is because this aroma is more exclusive to India than to all, because India has the maximum share of Himalayas happening. So, unfortunately, there too, we have to, when we were talking of awareness, I'm glad somebody now spoke about the awareness being not there about IPR. That too, we have to tell the people. When we talk of startup, somehow IT gets stuck. It's not IT, it's innovation. It's not information technology. Just because startup concept came from outside, landed in Bangalore, known as hub of IT. So we thought it's all about that. Now this is agri startup, the vector. Absolutely different. So we are going to have ocean startups because we have started the Samudri and all those things, the biodiversity, the biotech startups. They are very exclusive to India. And there you need not, many of those who are into this are not a very great degree holder. This boy about whom Dr. Kalesari was naming, I think he may not be a graduate also. I'm saying I think he's not. See, so we are, so unfortunately that we are linking the scientific qualification and degree with innovation, which of course is an advantage, but is not an absolute prerequisite. And we are sometimes linking it to a cutting edge or IT technology, which is also not so. You have daily startups. We in biotechnology, we have supported a group of daily startups. They started at 2 boys, they are now joined by 3 more. And you know who are those 3? 2 are the BTechs and 1 is MBA. All the 3 gave up their corporate jobs in Bangalore. I personally went to meet them because that helps us learn. So I asked the MBA boy, I said, "Ye to chalo theek hai, what are you doing?" He said, "No, I am helping them market products." He's creating fancy bottles. He's also given it a very fancy name. He said, I tell them, why do you go to the money? Give it to me. And he says, I am making more money and spending lesser hours than what I was doing for the corporate. So we have to link it with industry, with attractive liberation. As I said, ultimately these startups are also children of the same society. They are not dropped from the heaven. So he will start up, but if he doesn't find himself, living in the same socio-economic conditions as his peers, he or she will not be having their heart into this.
I just had a suggestion, because being in practice for now over 30 years and being a scientist myself, we've had the patent act from 1970, and the futuristic technology is like designer patent. You have generative AI. So I think a revisit of our statute itself would help us encourage and innovate and at least get protection within the country where it's being created. Because as of now, a lot of these creations are happening in research centers, maybe down south, Pune, and all the areas, but none of them are being protected within the country. They're going to apply overseas, but not.
No, absolutely. I think that is also one of the, it links with the earlier question, the uniformity not being there. So that is again one thing. And combining AI would actually has a part everywhere. That's why we get stuck up with something which is hi-fi scientific. We think this is separate away. Even here in the agri startup, the boy may not be a graduate, but he knows how to use AI to find out how many drops per plant of water is required. So, I mean that kind of orientation or that kind of training may not necessarily be through acquiring a degree. It could happen otherwise. It's more of a skill also. And then, yes, the other domain is our khadi. We had 1 lakh crore turnover of khadi this year. And khadi designer kurtas being sold abroad. There again AI could come in. Then we are having fusion. Again we can have AI. Like for example, in this Pashmina shawl, they are putting strings of bamboo now. So I went and saw that why we were doing it. Because Pashmina is from Kashmir, bamboo from Northeast, putting strings. Because that reduces the cost, improves the visible, beauty of the cloth or whatever the product, and becomes very saleable. So there is a lot of, this happening. And this has to be a continuous process. Even our learning has to be very dynamic. Revisiting an existing mechanism or curriculum also has to be continuous. We cannot, earlier on we used to revise the syllabus after 5 years. Education policy, I think now it has to be a continuous. In fact, if you ask me individually, not as government functionary, I would say we should have a cell which is, continuously working. What is relevant today will not be relevant tomorrow, and what we think will be relevant will appear in the morning has actually appeared in the midnight itself. Even the pace has increased. In science, we have something called doubling time. At least in medical science, we have doubling time means when you require to come out with the next edition of the textbook. Earlier on, it used to be 7 years, 5 years, got reduced to 3 years, not just 1.5 years. And that too, if last time it was 2 volumes, this time it has to be 3 volumes.
Yes, I have one point. So you have correctly said that it's just not IP protection, but it's also the startup requires support and constant push. So in that context, IP, I see it as 3 verticals, 3 advantages we have. One is to protect our intellectual property, the ideas itself. The second is to get international recognition, and the third one is the quality. So this is something which we need when we talk about IP and support is needed. So I need that, coming from NPL, I just request that should be part of the thing that in the policy itself, that the quality of the product should also be considered right at the beginning in the policy itself. And so we need the facilities to test this equipment and whatever is being made within the country from the IP which we are generating. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I now request our worthy DG CSIR, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, to kindly present our gesture of respect a shawl and a memento to the chief guest of today's event, our Honorable Minister, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji. Ma'am, please. Thank you, sir. Again, I request Dr. N. Kalai-Selvi, DG CSIR, to present the sacred basil plant and a memento to Mr. Rajesh Kumar Singh, IAS Secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. Ma'am, please. Thank you, sir. Again, I request ma'am to please present a memento as a token of our respect and gratitude to Dr. Malati Lakshmi Kumaran, Executive Director and Practice Head. Ma'am, please. Thank you, ma'am. Again, I request ma'am to please present a memento and a sacred basil plant to Dr. Trilochan Mohapatra, Chairman, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Authority. Sir, please. Again, I request Dr. N. Kalai-Selvi to please present a token of our gratitude and respect to Commodore retired Amit Rastogi from National Research Development Corporation. Sir, please. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Venugopal Achanta, Director CSIR-NPL, to please present the token of our respect and gratitude to Dr. N. Kalai-Selvi, DG CSIR. Again, I request Dr. Venugopal Achanta to please present. I request all the audience to please be seated. We will now be having our next address. Please be seated and maintain the decorum of the auditorium. Now I humbly request Mr. Rajesh Kumar Singh, IAS Secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, to please address the gathering. Sir, please.
Sorry, I'm delaying lunch for everybody. I couldn't come at the allotted time because I had another board meeting. I requested Dr. Kalai-Selvi for a slightly later slot after 12. In any case, I'm very happy to join all of you for this very important meeting. I'll keep it a little short, and I'll also try to cover some of the points raised during the interaction with the Minister about the working of the Patent Office, how we can improve it further, and how we can further enhance the innovation economy that India is trying to become. At the start, let me also say that the Prime Minister's vision is that during the period next 25 years of what he calls Amrit Kal, India should try to become a fully developed economy. And that developed economy has three pillars. It has a huge, almost $1.4 trillion of US dollars of worth of infrastructure investment in our physical infrastructure, roads, airports, railways. It involves a huge investment, unparalleled investment in our digital public infrastructure to bring about, to bridge the digital divide, to ensure financial inclusion of all citizens of the country, and also to formalize the economy and get most of it into the formal economy, so that it's the turnover of the informal sector also gets reflected in our national account statistics. And the third pillar of this is what we call the innovation economy, which is our very dynamic ecosystem of startups, of research institutions, to ensure that we take the benefit of innovations in human knowledge and technology to further benefit our economy. Now, it is that last part which of course we intend to talk about here. Unlike the Western concept, which has a lot of focus on incentivizing individuals to generate new ideas and then commercialize them, retain some monopoly rights to award him for the innovation that he's done. In India, we also have a tremendous focus, unlike developed countries, on two elements that are unique to us. One is farmers' rights, that we don't allow seeds to be patented. We have the BFRA chairman here with us. And we also don't allow traditional knowledge to be patented. Our tradition is that this traditional knowledge turned down through generations needs to be utilized for community good, for public good, and even for global good. If you see the Prime Minister recently in his visit to the United States led as many as representatives from as many as 130 countries in on the International Yoga Day, and that was intended to also send a message to the world that our traditional knowledge is available for the world. It is not being commercialized. We are using it for public good and for global good, and that is India's tradition. However, as we move to the innovation economy, we do need to ensure that our people who generate knowledge, who generate IPR, are adequately protected. And to that extent, for that purpose, we've now tried tremendously to improve the functioning of our patent offices. Our patent approval time is about 42 months now, which is comparable with countries like the United States. But of course, we are far behind China, which is our, which is actually leading the world in terms of patent applications and patent approvals at this stage. We need to do better there. And one of the ways that we intend to do better there is by almost doubling the number of patent examiners in the country. We've just approved almost 1,000 posts of new patent examiners for our patent office. The hope is that we can bring this down to not more than 2 years in the not too distant future. And that is, hopefully that will also improve our ranking in the Global Innovation Index, Innovation Rankings, which was 81st rank in 2015. Now it has moved up to about 40th in 2022. In terms of startups, as the Minister was mentioning, we are third rank in the world. We have almost 1 lakh registered startups on our DPIIT website. And I would like to mention, since he was wondering whether we are keeping track of these startups, actually we do keep some track of these startups. We do have a broad knowledge of where they are working. The bulk of them are working in what we call software as a service area, but there are many others in areas like agri-tech. In fact, India has the world's largest collection of agri-tech startups. 15% of the world's agri-tech startups are in India. There was also a question raised by one of our colleagues during the interaction as to what we are doing to ensure that startups or research institutions that
are involved in innovation based on a lot of research. In the world of startups, they call them deep tech. And whether we are giving deep tech startups enough support, because for them, going to the stage of commercialization is going to take much longer time than many of the simpler startups like financial inclusion or digital financial fintech startups who are relying on existing digital infrastructure or existing software. For them, I think there may be a case for perhaps coming up with a different set of seed fund schemes and fund of fund schemes for deep tech startups. That is something that the government is considering very seriously. As regards traditional knowledge and traditional cultural expressions, I mentioned yoga. There's a lot of innovative work being done by CSIR through the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, which is a pioneering initiative in India, which provides and secures defensive protection to our traditional knowledge and has prevented erroneous grant of patents to some of our traditional knowledge. We've also had at least a few cases where we've had success stories in terms of one particular plant-based drug called Jeevani, which was developed using the traditional knowledge of the Kani tribe from South India, which we've been able to patent, and we've also been able to ensure some kind of benefit sharing of the commercial arrangement with the Kani tribe. In the light of our unique IPR protection laws, when we negotiate our bilateral and multilateral trade agreements, we ensure that India's traditional knowledge database is also kept at the forefront, and we ensure that erroneous patents are not granted in relation to our traditional knowledge. We are also in fact trying to push for an international treaty on the protection of traditional knowledge, which is not, it's going to be a hard sell, but we are trying hard to ensure that that is done. Let me therefore at the end conclude by saying that safeguarding the rights of local communities and individuals are both vital for sustainable livelihood, while ensuring that our innovation economy develops further and we actually become a developed state, a developed country in the next 25 years, as is the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an honor and delight for us to hear you, sir. Now I request Dr. Venugopal Achanta, Director CSIR-NPL, to please felicitate Dr. Vishwajanani by presenting a token of our gratitude Again, I request sir to please present our token to Dr. Vibha Malhotra. Now I request Dr. Mahendra Darukar, Chief Scientist, CSIR TMD, to please felicitate Dr. Venugopal Achanta, Director, CSIR-NPL, by presenting a token of our gratitude. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Vibha Malhotra, Head Innovation Protection Unit, to kindly propose vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you. And I have the pleasant duty of keeping you away from lunch for just a few more minutes. Of course, the Honorable Minister is not here now, but a big thank you to him. And as was said, he's always there with us, for each and every program of ours, be it a big one or a small one. And with this inaugural function of the IP awareness month that we're going to, do this, this was very encouraging to have the Honorable Minister with us for such a long time. so I can thank him in absentia. But a big thank you to Secretary DPIIT for eventually making it. We can understand, those mix of meetings that are there and taking time out and giving the importance to this function. Thank you so much. Dr. Malati Lakshmi Kumaran, thank you. It was a very short notice that we gave her when we invited her, and she wholeheartedly agreed, as always, to come here and enrich us with her talk. Thank you so much, ma'am. DG CSIR and Secretary DSIR, thank you, ma'am, for all the encouragement that we get from you. And of course, it's a new beginning for CSIR, and with this IP awareness, a new culture that we are trying to build in of IP awareness across the length and breadth of the country. Our partners in this endeavor, of course, it being the parent organization through DSIR, the NRDC, our other arm of DSIR. Thank you so much. Chairman PPBFRA, the CG office wholly, and all the parent offices throughout. And if I've missed out anybody, and last but not the least, all the CSIR and the other stakeholders, the Sanrachna Foundation, who's going to be, a major partner with us here for this particular endeavor of ours. A big thank you for agreeing to join hands, and let's make this particular event, this month of Rashtriya Bauddhik Sampada Mahotsav, a real Mahotsav across the length and breadth of the country. So thank you one and all, and thank you for a very patient hearing. Thank you, audience, online and offline. And last but not the least, of course not the last thing, Dr. Vishwajanni Satagiri for coordinating the efforts of everybody. Director NPL, thank you so much once again for helping organize this entire inaugural function at this short notice. So whatever we say of NPL is less, the timekeeper of the nation and timekeeper for our lunch also. So thank you all very much, and please do join us for lunch. Thank you.
Now I request the House to kindly rise for the national anthem. Now I request all the dignitaries, all of you are requested to please be on your seats, as we will be having a group photograph with our dignitaries. I request the dignitaries to please come in the first row, as we will be having a group photograph. All of you are requested to please be standing on your respective seats for the group photograph. And after the group photograph, lunch will be served in front of the library.